mostly green behind us, just a few specks of red. As Alicia mentioned, quite a few companies going ex-div in today's session. But despite this, everyone's just focusing on the weekend developments, and quite a bit of optimism, we hope, is going to remain in the market due to action occurring in the Eurozone.
Talking about the weekend events
Yes.
in Europe and not the weekend events on a disastrous sporting
No,
front
let's not
here.
get into Sunday morning.
Okay, well, yes, exactly. So it seems finally Mercosi have cuddled up together and coming with something concrete. But I think almost the markets have forced them, haven't they? They've forced them to get to this point where they say, we need action. We need some action finally.
Well, also just keeping in mind that BHP Billiton was one of the stocks that, of course, came out with a bit of news this morning. More momentum coming through in Australia, uranium being the name of the game. Sasha, when you see the overall resource space and how it is starting to play quite a big role within the JSE, what is your sense? Do you think BHP, it's a good news story for them?
Well, remember they bought this asset, Olympic Dam, a long, long time ago, and they've been waiting for approval for quite a while in order to be able to improve and expand on it. So I think ultimately in the bigger picture, maybe what we're looking for here is for Billiton to be able to move to a position where they really get the Olympic Dam asset and they kind of leverage it up a lot.
Okay, with regards to where you're seeing value right now in the market, I know that you... BHP Billiton. Okay, Sasha. Let's delve into the Twitter side of things. I know that we are going to be talking on Twitter in today's session, so give us your sense. I know you've given us a few names. I think let's start off with yours. You've got a few people that you are suggesting that we follow.
Well, not really suggesting we follow. I mean, these are people, these are your people.
These are my people.
Why don't you talk about your people?
Okay, so Kate Long, she's from New York. Fantastic person to follow. She's quite controversial with regards to what we're seeing on the global market front. She also does quite a bit of analysis with regards to municipal bonds in the US, so that has been one of the reasons. Martina Steves, one of my favorites. She is Greek and she stays in Brussels, and she works with the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones. She's really hands-on with regards to what is happening in the Eurozone, and particularly a lot of insight into Greece. And Zero Hedge, it's not because of the picture. No, that is actually Brad Pitt. Zero Hedge is very controversial, mostly negative news that we see coming through from Zero Hedge. Not so much negative, but it seems
Which
that
is why I don't follow
No,
Zero
I think
Hedge.
that it's interesting to see their perspective with regards to the economic data, and I think that there is a lot of truth in what Zero Hedge says.
But then why don't they reveal themselves and tell us exactly who they are?
It's Brad Pitt.
It's Brad Pitt. Okay, it's Brad Pitt. Well, I mean, my favorite guys, I like Josh Brown. He used to work in the industry. He still does manage money. You might have seen him on the show before. Joe Wiesenthal, he's excellent. He's at the Business Insider, which I think has, at least he reveals himself. And sometimes he goes toe-to-toe with people like Nouriel Roubini about his Economics 101 outlook. And then this guy's very, very interesting, Mark J. Perry. He's actually an economics professor, and I really mostly follow his blog sessions. Maybe we can do blogs next week. Very, very interesting insights from a lot of these people. A lot of these people are short-termerism in nature. This guy's not. This guy's at the other end of the spectrum, and he gives you good news. So where Zero Hedge will give you lots of bad news, this guy will give you lots of good news. These two will keep you updated with market events.
Okay, next. I know you've got a few more, right?
Yes, I do have a few more. In fact, I've got one who's a big friend of this show, Ashraf Ladi, who, of course, is a currency strategist. He's quite, if you're trading currencies or if you want to know currencies and you want to see it, he's got 15 years plus, and he's often the big network's go-to person in terms of, what are the short-term moves, where do you see it over the next few weeks, etc. He's a great one to follow. And then this is a little bit off the beaten track. I know they've got about 20,000 followers, but it's not the main FT one. This is kind of their blog section, and they tweet in a more colloquial style.
Would you say that Twitter is starting to have quite a significant impact with regards to market movements on a day-to-day basis? Or at least we see rumors coming to the fore. We see a lot of people tapping into Twitter to find out what is happening and what people are feeling. Is it starting to actually impact market sentiments, or do you think it's still in its early stages?
I think still early stages. I mean, it doesn't impact anything that I do specifically. Mostly because long term in my books is more than 2 weeks. I know a lot of people who, talk about the long term, talk about 2 to 5 years. I like to talk about trends that go on forever and ever, and, a decade, 2 decades. But I think there are people who use it as a news flow effectively, especially if you're following guys like this, or if a rumor breaks on, one of these feeds here, or if you follow Joe or Zero Hedge. He's a great guy for having information and feed in. And I think what happens is the market plugs into people like Zero Hedge, sends him stuff, him or her, whoever it is, reveal yourself, and then they can then put it on their blog and break the news. So this is becoming a different way and a different medium where people can get breaking news, provided, of course, you can manage your flow. And that's the tricky part, of course, because there are many different ways you can manage your flow, of course. I mean, and of course, people mustn't view Twitter as, what noodles I'm having for dinner, but rather as a customizable news flow. So go out and get signed up. I know Alicia's not, but I think by the end of the show we would have convinced her to get signed up.
Absolutely. But looking at how the market has been performing over the past few days and just watching the Twitter feeds, it seems that it perpetuates negativity, and then when there's optimism, then everyone is optimistic. Do you think that it's not creating an environment where we're just feeling extreme things and we've got a vent, and the vent is Twitter, and then everybody rides on that vent?
Yeah, so you've got to be careful what you say,
Yeah.
because like you said, immediately the whole world keeps a record of what you say forever. Although, as far as I recall, you can delete a tweet, although someone might get it, as what happened to that poor senator, right? He tweeted a terrible picture of himself. But I think it's a new age. It's a new way of communicating with other people. And ultimately, all we want to see is price discovery. So if we can get to a level, be that for the euro to the dollar, which you would think was broken at 110, but actually it's at 135. I mean, to be perfectly honest, we all want to see price discovery.
Are you buying at this point? Are you allocating new money into the market?
We have been, and in fact, caught some good prices towards the end of last week. But we all know this year, what are we? We're still down 4.5%.
5.5% or so.
So, to be perfectly honest, to say have we been buying? Yes, and I think with the benefit of hindsight, maybe you should have waited for some big drawdowns before you bought in, but over the longer term, which is not 2 weeks or 2 minutes, I think you'll be well rewarded buying stocks at these levels.